let's go over the joining method. So it's called tight joint. So I have one square completed all the way. For each additional square in your balaclava, you will be completing it almost, and then this last section will be connected as we go. So I want to position my tails on this end. So this is square one, this is square two. When I complete this edge, I will end up with the tail here like that, like over here. And I want them to be aligned on the same side, because that will be so you want it either on the face framing or the bottom. And the reason for that is that when you are working this edging on the bottom, so let's say the tail was here, so when you work in the edging, you could incorporate this yarn in this edging, and then so when you have these tails evenly spread out, you could just incorporate it and you don't have to weave this end in. So here on this side, so there's another edging for face framing, so it could be positioned this way and then that way, and then so on. For some of the squares in the middle, you will have a loose tail, but at least you could minimize some of the number of ends you have to weave in if they're here. So just a note, you don't have to do that. So let's connect the squares here. So I completed that. This is almost completed. So the description in the PDF file will talk about corresponding stitches. So here we have on one side here, so we will have a chain one, this 3DC, 2 half double crochet, 3 single crochets, 1 2 3, 2 half double crochets, another 3DCs, and chain 1. So when we complete the same stitches here, so we're also going to have 3DCs, 2 half double crochets, single crochets in next 3 stitches, have 2 double crochets here, and then 3DCs here, and then another turning chain, not turning chain, but a chain for the corner. So we're going to be joining each of these stitches. So here I completed this side where I stopped at chain 1. So I have 1 2 3 3 double crochets, chain 1. So to turn the corner, I will be working another chain 1, then I'm dropping this loop and I'm picking up, I'm inserting my hook into the both loops of this chain here, of the second chain. I'll position my yarn better. Okay, so I completed the chain 1, inserting my hook into the both loops of this chain 1. Then I'm putting this loop back on my hook and I'm pulling it through these 2 stitches. So I connected this stitch, so I'm adjusting the tension here, make sure it's not too stretched out. So next I have 3 DCs, so I'm working 1 DC as I would normally do. So I completed my DC, dropping this loop, and I'm just pinching it with my fingers. So now if I look at this corner, the next one is the DC. So I'm inserting my hook into this both loops of the DC on the square number 1. Then I'm putting this loop back on my hook and I'm pulling it through these 2 loops. So I connected this stitch. Now I'm working the second half double crochet as I would normally do for my square number 2. When I completed that, I'm dropping the loop, this loop, inserting a hook into the 2 loops of the next stitch on square number 1, putting it back in, and pulling this loop through the both loops of double crochets for square number 1. Then I have one more double crochet, and I'm connecting that here. So now I have to skip 2 and work a half double crochet. So I'm working a half double crochet, dropping my loop, and then inserting it into the next stitch. So I connect it. So here how it looks. So you will see a little like this twisting edge, and it's a little it slows you down a little bit, but considering that you don't have to weave in all these ends later on, it's really better. And the edge itself is really flat, and it allows some elasticity, which is a really nice benefit. So next I have a single crochet. So a single crochet. So when you go through these stitches here, if you align the first stitch correctly, you don't really have to keep track, oh, was it the single crochet or was it the half double crochet? You just insert it into the next stitch, and it will be aligned. So now I have to skip to square number 2 and do 3 GCs in this corner, the cluster where the first chain and the first 2 GCs were worked. And here I'm just continuing to use the next stitch on square number 1. So the sequence is always the same. You complete the stitch on your new square as you would normally do, then you drop the loop and insert the hook into the stitch on the square number 1, and then you pull this loop through. So here I almost completed all of that. I just have this chain here, so I'm completing the chain, I'm joining it here, so I need 2 loops here. Then I have one more chain, and I'm joining the slip stitch to join in around, just like that. So now I could just fasten off, and so I will have a tail here. So I have 2 squares connected, and then you could continue connecting them according to the chart. And for some of the squares you will have to connect both sides here, so then you just complete your last row halfway and complete and connect this edge and then this edge as you go.